Goldie Hawn, the woman whose laughter defined an entire generation, had a secret no one expected. She made the world believe in joy, in light, in Hollywood magic. But now, at 79, she's finally breaking her silence and revealing the 6 actors she secretly despised. They once called her sweetheart, America's angel, then later whispered she was greedy, fake, and overrated. Goldie never forgot. She swore she'd never work with them again. And when you hear who they are, you'll finally understand how much pain was hiding behind that perfect smile. Bill Murray, the public humiliation that made Goldie Hawn walk away. Of all the names on Goldie Hawn's blacklist, Bill Murray sits right at the top. And the story behind it? It's almost too wild to believe, not because of one fight, but because of a moment she could never forget. It was supposed to be a light-hearted table read for a late 1980s studio comedy. On paper, pairing America's sweetheart with comedy's wild card seemed like a dream, but within minutes, it turned into a nightmare. Murray arrived an hour late, loud, disheveled, and unapologetic. He tossed his half-empty coffee cup onto the script pages and announced, "Now we can start." Goldie just looked at Murray, and she knew something bad was going to happen. As the reading began, Goldie delivered her lines with warmth and rhythm. Murray interrupted mid-scene, smirking. "Why don't you try acting like you've done drama before?" The men in the room burst out laughing. Goldie didn't. She closed her script, rose from her chair, and walked out without a word. That silence was louder than any argument, a single act that would echo through Hollywood. The next day, her team informed the producers, Goldie Hawn was out. No press statement. She simply erased herself from the project. "He thinks unpredictability is genius," she later told a friend. "I think it's exhausting." That incident changed her career. From then on, she avoided volatile geniuses who confused cruelty with creativity. She turned down male-led comedies, stopped tolerating tantrums, and started choosing peace over chaos. Years later, when asked if she would ever work with Murray, her response was calm but final. No interest. Warren Beatty, the rejection that turned into revenge. It all started with one word, no. That was all it took for Warren Beatty, Hollywood's most powerful ladies' man, to turn against Goldie Hawn. In the late 1970s, when Warren was at the height of his fame, he decided Goldie would be his next conquest. He invited her to dinner, then to private parties, then to his home in Beverly Hills. Everyone knew what that meant. But Goldie didn't play along. She was polite, charming, and firm. And that's when his charm vanished. Almost overnight, Goldie began to notice doors closing. Scripts she'd been promised suddenly disappeared. Directors who had been enthusiastic went silent. One producer even warned her privately, "Warren says you're difficult, not serious material." It was subtle and just a quiet, calculated smear campaign. "He doesn't handle rejection," Goldie confided years later. "He punishes it." Those 6 words explain everything. What began as a simple refusal became a vendetta that followed her through much of the early 1980s. Warren's influence was enormous, and he used that power mercilessly. Goldie never confronted him publicly. She let time do the talking. But at an awards show years later, fate gave them a face-to-face. Warren, smiling like the old days, leaned in to greet her. Goldie looked him straight in the eyes, gave a sweet, polite smile, and turned her back mid-sentence. That moment said it all. Dustin Hoffman, the audition that shattered Goldie's respect. Third on Goldie's silent list is a name no one ever expected. Dustin Hoffman, the man the world called a genius. But to Goldie, he was something else entirely. What happened between them wasn't gossip or rumor, it was humiliation. It was the early 1980s, and Goldie was ready to take a bold step away from her lighthearted image. She had proven she could make the world laugh. Now she wanted to make it feel. The producers invited her to read opposite Hoffman for a prestigious drama. Everyone thought it would be electric. It was, but for all the wrong reasons. Halfway through their reading, Hoffman suddenly stopped. He looked at her, stone-faced, then turned to the producers and said, "She's still playing it like a sitcom." The words hit like a slap. Goldie didn't move. She finished the scene with calm precision, thanked them politely, and walked out before anyone could say another word. The next morning, she called her agent and said flatly, "I'm out. I won't fight for respect in a room full of men who already decided I'm a joke." From that day, she never worked with Hoffman again. Later, when asked about the experience, she said, "Some men forget they're not directing the women around them." That single sentence was her revenge. Hoffman thought he had exposed her weakness, but he only exposed his own arrogance. And Goldie? She just walked away from him. Chevy Chase, the onset arrogance that broke their friendship. You want to know how bad it got? Goldie Hawn once told a friend, "If I ever have to smile next to Chevy Chase again, I'll quit Hollywood." That's how deep it went. As a result, he's number 4 on her silent hate list. Back in 1978, Foul Play looked like a dream project. Goldie was America's sweetheart. Chevy was comedy's new king. The cameras captured magic, but behind them, it was a nightmare. Chevy walked onto set like he owned the studio. He mocked lines, rewrote jokes, and threw off entire scenes. Even he'd sulk for hours if Goldie got a bigger laugh. And when she did, he'd mutter under his breath, "She's lucky to be here." Goldie tried to keep things light. She joked, she charmed, she smoothed things over, but the cracks started showing. One night, after yet another argument about a scene, Chevy stormed off set and refused to come back until the director rewrote it. Goldie stayed behind, quietly sitting on the steps, exhausted. "He's not funny when the cameras stop rolling," she whispered to her stylist. "He's just mean." By the end of filming, the two couldn't even look at each other. The studio begged her to do a sequel, millions on the table, but she didn't hesitate. "Not interested," she told her agent. That was it. Sean Penn, the public insult. Goldie Hawn never forgot. By the time she reached number 5 on her secret hate list, she thought she'd seen every kind of arrogance Hollywood could offer. She was wrong, because nothing prepared her for Sean Penn. This wasn't a fight on set or a private grudge. It happened in public, under chandeliers, in front of an entire ballroom. It was 2014, at a Malibu charity gala. Goldie had been invited to give a short, heartfelt speech about mental health, something she cared about deeply. When she took the stage, the room went silent, except for Sean Penn. From his table, he sighed, rolled his eyes, and said loudly, "Another celebrity wellness sermon." But when Goldie finished her talk to warm applause, Penn leaned back, smirked, and said the line that would burn into her memory. She should stick to giggling. She didn't flinch. She smiled, raised her glass, and left the room early. In the car afterwards, she finally spoke. "My whole career, and I'm still reduced to giggles." That was the moment she drew her final line. From that day forward, Goldie refused to attend any event where Sean Penn's name appeared on the guest list. When asked years later about him, she didn't even blink. Not my energy. She wasn't angry anymore. She was done. Kirk Douglas, the legend who made her feel invisible. You'd think the last name on Goldie Hawn's hate list would belong to a rival or a loudmouthed comedian, not a Hollywood legend. But that's the twist. It was Kirk Douglas, one of the most respected names in movie history. It started during a panel at an industry event in the late 1990s. Goldie was there as an Oscar-winning actress, a producer, a woman. Kirk, already a revered icon, greeted her with that signature grin, kissed her hand, and said, "You haven't aged a day, sweetheart." The crowd laughed. Goldie smiled politely, but inside, it stung. As the discussion began, Kirk interrupted her not once, but 3 times, finishing her sentences, correcting her thoughts, and turning every moment into a chance to show he was still the big man in the room. The moderator later admitted, you could feel her frustration. She went from glowing to stone cold. After the panel, Goldie told a close friend, "He talks to me like I'm still the blonde in a bikini scene. I've won an Oscar." That summed it up. She stayed friendly with Michael Douglas, who she often praised as a modern gentleman, but she never spoke of Kirk again. "Some men," she later said quietly, "don't deserve a second act in your memory." And that's the cruelest part of all. Kirk Douglas never knew he was on her list. Now you know the truth behind Hollywood's golden smile. But which of these 6 names shocked you the most? Do you think Goldie was right to stay silent all those years? Or should she have exposed them sooner? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more untold Hollywood confessions.